All right, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's 6:30 and we are ready to begin. The first matter of business is for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Ms. McKenzie, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening?
I know that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. The next item on our agenda is for a moment of silence in recognition of Mr. William Bell, who passed away due to, I believe, an illness, is what I had heard. But he will definitely be missed. He was a big friend and supporter of everything that the elections office did.
He was a past chair of the Board of Elections, and he passed away last year.
At the end of last year. Yeah. So we'll observe a moment of silence at this time. Thank you. The next item is to approve the agenda that is before us. Everybody had a chance to submit items if need be, and this is the agenda that we have created. You have
Move for approval of the agenda.
okay. Do I have a second? All right. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that carries. Thank you. The first item under old business is the polling place agreement for Rick and Ed. Let me begin by saying that back August, maybe, of last year, might have been July, we had discovered that we didn't actually have an official agreement for some of the locations that we use. And so we've been working on that with our previous attorney, and now we have asked our new attorney's office to review it. And so Stacy and I have looked it over. We've had a couple of recommendations we felt needed to take place, and then we're going to bring that back before the board once she gets it from the attorney's office again. So
Last year, we had looked over, the board had submitted any kind of information that they wanted to see on the polling place agreement. We included all of that. We were ready to go forward with the board to approve it and let the different polling places start signing the agreement. When our attorneys changed, we sent the polling place agreement that we had worked on to Gerard and Davis, and they sent it to their staff that looks over agreements and contracts, and they forwarded us back things that we didn't necessarily have in it that they thought would be a good idea. So we have made the changes, and we're forwarding that back to them for them to make the changes before we present it to the board.
just wanted everybody to know that we are still working on that. We do anticipate having that ready prior to our first round of elections in March, so that we can execute that document. Several of our polling places are schools, so we want to make sure that we have that agreement going forward for this year. We did discover that one of the polling places that we thought was owned by somebody else is actually now owned by the county, so that saves us there. And one of them obviously is one of the fire stations out in Yellow Creek. Again, it's county basically run or facility, so we would be okay there. So we don't have a lot to execute with some of the locations, but we do want to get that done before we start this election year in March. So working on that.
You thought the changes they made were okay?
Some of them were just standard contract agreements, but we didn't necessarily feel like with us we needed to put in there. So there was some things that we were going to ask them to omit out of what they submitted.
Okay. So that was just an update on that. Does anyone have, I know you all, this is new for y'all, but okay.
Just as soon as we get the updated copy, then we'll send it out to the board, for them to be able to take a look, and then any changes that you think might need to be made from there, we can get your input, before we send it back for a final draft, and then we can vote on it come the March meeting.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Stacy.
So, do we need to vote to table that?
We can vote to table that, so I'll ask for a motion to table that till the March meeting.
Motion to table.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, that passes. Okay, the next item on the agenda under old business is the voter guide. Stacy, you want to give us an update on where we are? And just to bring you gentlemen up to speed, it's a publication that the board had entertained that we get created to send out to every household in Pickens County prior to this year, and Stacy's been working on that. So she's going to give us an update and see if we...
Yes, we started working on the voter guide in January. I had hoped that we would have it completed by the 1st of February, but we've been a little bit busy testing equipment, doing poll worker training. So we're hoping to get it completed in the next couple weeks. Turnaround time for printing is only about a week or so. So we're hoping to get it out before the end of February. And it will go to every household in Pickens County.
Will we see the draft before it goes for final?
I can send out a copy of it before it goes to print.
That'd be great.
Okay.
There's only one thing that I saw when I was looking at it last time, and I can reply to it. I think it was identification.
Yes, and what was in the example that I gave you isn't necessary. That's just what another county did. We condensed it. We're only going to have a 12-page voter guide, but we can send out copies of it, of a draft before it gets sent to print.
Okay.
And one of the items that'll be condensed is we're a smaller county, so we have fewer polling places and things to include on locations and things like that in the voter guide. But it will have all the precincts listed and contact information and voting dates and everything. So it'll be very comprehensive. So it'll be really good. Stacy, remind me the postage amount, that's all been budgeted for. So all we'll have to do is vote to approve the publication.
So you already voted to approve it last year for me to go forward with it as long as it was approved in the budget, and it was approved in the budget for this year. So the only thing is I can send out a copy, when it gets to the point where we get ready to finalize before it prints, just for you to look over.
Okay. So at this time then we have no other business to take up with this matter.
It's just an update on the progress of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Stacy. Our next order is new business, and the first item is the Board of Election meeting time. And right now we are set to begin at 6:30. Excuse me. And I posed the question about changing the time to the fellow board members. I think it's a lot for our staff to stay till 6:30 to even start a meeting. So I'm just wanted to open this up for discussion. And apologize for the tickle. But the time was originally set based on availability of previous board members. So if anybody would like to discuss changing the time, and if everybody is available to start, again, I apologize. City of Jasper starts at 6. Their meetings, county government starts theirs at 5:30. So we do have some flexibility if we wanted to switch times. I apologize. So, does anybody have any thoughts or discussion?
Do you have any suggestions? I'm open to whatever.
I think six.
Thank you.
Would be reasonable. It would give anybody who, would like to attend the meeting the chance to get off work at 5 o'clock and still make it in time for the meeting to start.
At what, 5:30?
6.
I'm flexible
I just
anytime.
would hate to move it to 5:30 and then somebody that might want to attend the meeting that might work in Kennesaw, you know, with traffic, might not have the chance, you know, to be here. So I think 6 would be a reasonable time.
We don't usually have very many people.
Yeah, I'm personally very flexible, but I think for the voter's benefit,
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to make it earlier than that, although it might be our benefit.
Yeah.
I don't think that would be necessary.
I agree.
6 o'clock is fine.
Okay. So I'm hearing that everybody thinks 6 o'clock would be appropriate. Do I have a motion to move our start time for our monthly Board of Election meetings to begin at 6 o'clock PM rather than 6:30?
So the only question I have, does Terry need to be part of this?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, she's pretty flexible.
She's retired, so I know that she should have availability.
I'm fine.
I move that we change the meeting time to 6 o'clock.
A second.
Okay, is there any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will begin at 6 o'clock PM at the March meeting date. Thank y'all. And again, I apologize for the tickle in my throat.
That's okay.
The next item on the agenda is the appointment of a vice chair. And I actually would suggest that we table this particular item since Terry is not present, and I think all board members should be present for this. Just so everybody's familiar, the primary duty of the vice chair is to conduct a meeting in my absence, but I still feel like that's an additional responsibility and everybody should be present when we have this discussion. Originally, the agenda was set for assuming Terry would be here, and not knowing that she wouldn't be until after. So at this point, like I said, I would recommend we table this to the next meeting. But
That's because Mike he was vice chair and he's no longer here.
correct, Mike was the vice chair, and since he rolled off the board at the end of 2023, then that's opened up that position.
That's
What say you all?
Motion to table for further discussion.
Second.
second. Oh,
Third.
he did.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we will move that to the March agenda. Thank you. All right, our pre-election meeting, bless you, sir. Our pre-election meeting is the next item on the agenda. Ms. Godfrey, if you want to shed some light for everyone on that.
Yes, I had asked that there be a pre-election meeting before the big elections this year. So that way I could meet with the sheriff, with the commission chair, with the EMA director, with EMS and fire, and then the director of the rec center, for us to all get on the same page about what we needed for this election from each of those departments, and any issues that we had, we could work through them before election day. So we had a meeting back in January, and I think it was a very productive meeting. Everyone out of one of those departments was able to attend, and some of the issues that we had with some polling places, we addressed and have worked out some avenues that we think are gonna help, like with Tate, with the Marble Building and not having good cell service. We have some options that we're going to see if works, other than just using a cell phone. We're working with the EMA director on radios for the locations that doesn't have good cell service, like Yellow Creek and Tate. We discussed parking at some of the schools, with school not being in for the March 12th election. It won't be such a big deal, but for the May 21st, we talked about parking options for voters and getting signs that say voter parking only. We do have the handicap signs already, but just trying to do what we can to ensure that voters are not deterred from showing up to vote because of situations like that. I think the meeting went very well. We plan to have another one before the May election and then another one before the November election. And I think it's just a good opportunity for us to keep that open line of communication between us and the other departments.
The sheriff's department is also very receptive to having deputies available throughout the day for each day for early voting, so that they can be there if there is a need for anything. There's talk of even having police presence or law enforcement presence out at Yellow Creek because of parking and people needing to cross the road, so that people feel safe to even cross. Like, everybody was on the same page and seems 100% ready to work for the good of the voters here in Pickens County and the safety and security of all of that to take place as well. So it was a great conversation, and I applaud the efforts by everybody to sit down and come to the table and come up with a really good game plan.
Just one question, was the Board of Education involved, or are they on board? Or?
They were invited. They couldn't attend that meeting, but I had a meeting with Dr. Thomas in August after school started, and we started the discussion about school being in and possibly going to a virtual learning day for that March 12th election. He went to the board about it, and they voted to make that a virtual day. Now, as of the May 21st, there wasn't an option to make that a virtual day because that's 3 days before school gets out. And he said we just could not ask, to do a virtual day that close to school being out. But I told him we're used to being in the schools when the kids are in the school, so we can work around that. But we're going to work with them very closely for big election years from here on out. And I think opening that line of communication, we can help them plan before they go to finalize their school calendar to possibly make those big elections like the presidential preference primary a virtual learning day ahead of time.
Right. That was my big fear is November. And, we have some practice time before
Well, November, they're out every November for election day, but it's the elections that are not held on that November election day that I worry about.
I get you.
Runoffs, they don't usually plan for school being out and that sort of thing too.
Primaries.
So, but they definitely seem willing to work with us. So, and because we've had conversations even about the fact that we have so few options of places outside of the city limits, so to speak, because as you get out into some of the rural areas, there's not big enough buildings. So we've had the conversations about needing to keep the schools at some of our election sites. So,
But Dr. Thomas has been included, and he was not able to be at that meeting, but I did email him to let him know, the update from that meeting, and told him that any meetings that we have in the future, he will be invited to attend as well. But the school board and the superintendent have been very helpful when we've been working on all of this information.
any other questions about that particular meeting? We don't need to, at this point, take a vote on anything because everything has been pretty much addressed and everybody's willing to do their part. So I think we're just bringing you up to speed and moving forward from there. So, okay. All right, the March 12th PPP.
Can I ask, will we be included in that pre-election meeting? Is it for us?
It was just my staff and the other departments, and that's why I'm giving you an update.
Okay.
If there's something that you would like to address with one of those particular...
I didn't know if this would be like a late night meeting with us.
No, it was a meeting that I had during the day, and I kind of had to do it based around those other department head schedules. So if there's something that a board member would like to address with one of those departments, feel free to reach out to me and we can plan something for you to be able to talk to those other departments.
Perfectly fine.
Okay, so now, sorry Rick, the March 12th PPP. Stacy, you want to give us an update on where we're at with that?
Ooh, it is right around the corner.
Early voting's on.
Ready or not. Early voting starts February the 19th. and it goes through March the 8th. There's a total of 17 possible days of early voting, 2 Saturdays. So we are getting ready for that. The last day to register to vote is February the 12th. The first day for us to send out absentee ballots is February the 12th. And the last day to apply for an absentee ballot is March the 1st, and the last day to return that ballot is on Election Day, March the 12th, in our office at 7 p.m. So I just wanted to give you an update on all of those dates that are pertaining to the PPP, and it will be here before you know it.
And earlier today, Stacy sent out an email inviting board members to offer break time, so to speak, for the people working early voting, because they are there, and that's 5 days a week plus the Saturdays. In order to be able to do that, you have to attend the poll worker training. So if you haven't done that, is there a...
We're working on a makeup day.
Okay, but if you've attended, you're good, and you can just let everybody know your availability, or email Stacy, Rhonda, and then they'll put us on specific days. And it's between the hours of 11 and 1, like I say, so they can have a lunch break and
Right.
phone break and what have you type thing,
Yes, I
so.
think both of us have attended the poll worker,
I did.
yes.
And Terry and I were at the same one, so we'll get you signed up for the makeup day. So, if there is any day that you're not available, or if you want to specifically say what days you are as opposed to whatever's easier, just let them know, so that way they have the ability to schedule us up. So, I know that the workers appreciate having, you know.
I already told her my days.
Okay, perfect.
So Rhonda's out, so do we just wait till she gets back to do
No,
that?
you'll email that to me.
Are you gonna set everybody's schedule, or you're just gonna
I
say?
will, yes.
So, but yeah, so there's that. So, and like Stacy said, we'll be setting up the Friday before, so what is that, February 16th?
Next
So
Friday.
next Friday,
This Friday.
a week from Friday, we will be over there taking the equipment over to get ready to set up for Monday morning. So, and that is delivered, so we don't have to do anything, just letting you guys know that that's when the equipment will be taken over there and locked up over there so that it's ready to go Monday morning.
And all the early voting, once again, is at the rec center.
It's at the rec
Yes, sir.
center.
And we did have a conversation with the rec center. They're, like I say, they're good. They're on board with everything. They understand all the parameters that we have, so.
Yeah, they've been super helpful
Mhm.
with pre-planning, to get everything going over there. I told them just to get me a cot.
She's moving in.
I'll be moving in for 17 days.
Her or Rhonda, one of the two will be there.
Are we gonna be able
Take
to
care.
overflow in the gym if we have a big
Yes,
old
ma'am.
house?
So, anything else about that you need us to perform any sort of vote or anything for?
So,
All right, so that would take care of the new business part. So we will move on to staff comments, if you want to bring us up to date on anything else we have not discussed.
we have a schedule set for poll workers. We are in a really good place. We have over 75 poll workers. I think that's more than we've had in any election that we've conducted previously. But if you know of anybody that would like to be a poll worker, we are always looking to add more. Qualifying for the general primary is going to take place in the middle of early voting. That will be March the 4th through the 8th. So we'll be juggling two different things. The Secretary of State has started, because of us having such a busy year, we won't have a lot of in-person training, so they have scheduled for some virtual training that they have us set up for election officials, and our staff will be logged on and attending those training sessions. Our office started LNA testing last Monday, January the 12th. We have been testing all the equipment that will be deployed on election day and for early voting. So far, we have tested 67 BMDs, 12 scanners, 13 scanners and 27 poll pads. We decided this year to go to a barcoding system where on the outside of our cases, so that way it will help us in previous elections when we get ready to deploy equipment. We can just scan the outside of the equipment, and that will let us know the serial number for the BMDs that is inside of that equipment. We have married a printer with each BMD and assigned that printer with a barcode as well to match up, to make sure that when the poll manager sets it up, they set up printer 1 with BMD 1. So we're going through a lot of changes with deploying the equipment that we haven't done in the past that we think is going to be very beneficial when we get ready to deploy in the future.
You said January 12th, I thought it was January 29th, correct, that you started
Did I
with?
say
Yes.
the 29th?
Yeah.
Yes, we started the 29th, I'm sorry.
That's okay, I would say like, I lost a week in there, but that's okay, we're good.
Between doing poll worker training and testing, I'm surprised I remember any day.
Right, okay.
But I think the barcoding system will be very, very beneficial to us for future elections. We held 3 nights of poll worker training last week.
So, I'm sorry, Stacy, when you're using the barcoding, is that just for you for deployment?
Yes.
Or is it being utilized when it reaches the precinct?
No, it's not being utilized when it reaches the precinct.
Just for us.
That's just for us, you know, they keep track, and we have certain BMDs assigned to certain precincts. So when we get ready to deploy it, we'll scan it, and if we, like, let's say we have 8 possible BMDs that go to the rec center, but for a certain election, we only use 6 of them. We can scan those 6, and we will know that 2 of them are still in our warehouse, and that 6 are actually being, you know, have to be tested, and we have those serial numbers on all of the paperwork that we have to do for LNA testing and turn into the state, that we have the correct ones on there. Before, we were having to write it down by hand, and everyone knows that, you know, you can transpose numbers very easily with this system and go into the barcodes. We put the barcodes in, we checked and double checked to make sure that the numbers that we put in were the accurate numbers, so that way when we go to scan from here on out, we don't have to worry about handwriting them.
Gotcha.
Most of those lines are so tiny to write on that it's, you need to triple check and get some readers, even if you've got perfect vision, so.
Well, does it print on the line when you?
So we were fortunate enough that Gordon County, Bruce, their IT over in Gordon County took I don't know how many hours to make spreadsheets out of all of the state forms that we have to turn in for LNA testing.
Wow.
And that we actually give our poll managers to fill out for election day. So they were nice enough to share those spreadsheets with us, and we were able to go in and change all the information for our county and save it. And then now when we scan it, it actually pre-populates in those fields. And all the paperwork, what we have in the office that we're deploying matches, the paperwork that's being sent to the poll workers match. And it's just amazing that they were nice enough to share that with us.
So many smart people.
It's definitely a lifesaver, that's for
Yes.
sure.
Yes,
So.
it's gonna cut down on a lot of time that we spent, you know, writing and rewriting, you know, those forms. And we have a color-coded system where the poll managers have a certain color that they have to fill out these lines in the morning, and another color that they fill out in the evening. And now we don't have to sit there with a highlighter and color all of that. So we can actually print it out and highlight it in those colors, and it will print in those colors. So we are so grateful that they shared that with us.
And the poll managers have even gone through a separate training besides the poll worker training that they attended. You had a separate poll manager training too,
Yes.
correct?
I said that we did poll worker training last week, 3 nights. We had over 75 people show up. We still have about a handful of people that were not able to make it, that we're working on a makeup date to do training for them. I believe every single one of our precincts are fully staffed now. I know we had our manager for Nelson, he did not come back, and neither did any of the workers after last year's municipal election, so we had to completely restaff that precinct, but we are in a very good place, and we will be getting the board the date that we end up doing the makeup training, and Becky, you can come to it if you would like.
Yeah.
It should be said that the manager had personal reasons to not come back. It wasn't because he didn't enjoy doing what he did, but family matter. So, not sure what was going on with some of the workers, but they were like a team or a family, I think so. When one left, they all like, okay, we're not working if you're not gonna be here.
Yeah, he brought a lot of those workers with him from his day job, and whenever he decided to step down and no longer work elections, they were only there because, well, they enjoyed it, but they enjoyed working with him. So when he decided to step down, they did as well. And Nelson's a smaller precinct, so we only staff it with mostly 5. So it was just nice to be able to have all of those people already ready to go to restaff that. And we had a poll worker that has been a seasoned poll worker step up to be the manager for that precinct, and I think she'll do great at it. So we do have 2 new managers. It'll be the Nelson precinct and the Talking Rock precinct, but I think they will both, be really good managers, and they're putting in the time to make sure that they know what they're doing and do the job properly. Our staff will be attending the Gabrielle Day at the Capitol tomorrow. We are scheduled to hear from local legislators while we are there, so I'll be able to give you an update on that whenever we have our March meeting. We are watching closely the legislation that's going on and the bills that are being heard, and any updates that I get, I will pass along to the board. Our Easy Vote campaign portal went live January the 31st.
What?
Our Easy Vote campaign portal, so our Easy Vote program where we added the additional modules. One of those modules was the campaign finance module, and that is the paperwork that candidates and elected officials have to submit. Before, they submitted paper copies, but with this portal, it allows me to take those digitally. So they submit it through the portal and it comes straight to me, and then I submit it on behalf of them to the state for the ethics. So we went live with that on January the 31st. I had a training session with all elected officials that are incumbents. They came in and set up their logins and their passwords. We had Greg from Easy Vote here to walk them through how to fill out the forms and set up their accounts, and I think it went over very well. All the elected officials seemed to really enjoy being able to do it digitally instead of having to worry about bringing the copies into our office, and it allows them to submit it without having to find a notary, because it notarizes it immediately once they submit it. They can submit it from the comfort of their home all the way up until that 11:59 deadline that they have. It has to be submitted by 12 o'clock. So they can do that without having to be inconvenienced and have to get out and bring it to our office. So I think that's gonna be a good thing for us to have.
That was one of the products that we had voted earlier on last year to add to our suite that we had with Easy Vote.
Yes,
So
we had before just the absentee module, but we voted to get the whole suite, and that includes the campaign finance, that includes the inventory module and the poll worker module. And I'll tell you already, just with the little bit that I have used it with the campaign finance and the poll worker, it will allow me to send out SMS messages to all of the poll workers, reminding them if we have training, reminding them, of election days. I think it's going to be a whole lot easier on our office to get in touch with poll workers and with candidates, instead of me having to copy 15 candidates to an email, I can go in there and just select all, and it'll send them the same email, and it will send them text messages if I want it to.
And then it also alleviates any discrepancies from this office to the state where the candidate or the elected official could get accused of delaying and getting fined for their paperwork being late or anything like that. So it kind of just cleans that all up. There's no room for that like discrepancy or debate anymore. So, and from what I've heard from several of the elected officials, they are very pleased with it. They like the easiness of the equipment and how well it's just going to make their jobs all go smoothly. So
This may sound like a terrible question, but how do we know the real candidate did that? Is there some way to verify?
they have a login thing.
Yeah, when they came and met with me and Greg from Easy Vote, they set up their login and their password
I see.
that day, and they will submit it through that login and password. So they'll log into the portal, they'll put their login, their password, it will let them in. The good thing about it is anytime that a candidate starts a report, whether it's a personal financial disclosure statement or if it's a campaign contribution disclosure statement or an affidavit, it alerts me that the candidate has started it. So it tells me if they're currently working in it, and if they give me a call and tell me, that they've submitted it, but it's still open, I can let them know it's still open, it hasn't submitted yet, you can go back and try to submit it again. Or if they try to say, well, I submitted it, but I can see that they never even opened it to start it, it lets me see that as well. So it kind of lets me help guide them, with their progress on it. I do send out a blanket email to all elected officials when it's time to fill out those reports and say, if you're required to fill it out, these are the deadlines. And this will actually pop up a reminder for them every time they log in and let them know how many days till the next report is that they have to fill it out. So it kind of takes that off of me of having to notify them. But I still will send an email just to do my due diligence to remind them.
Okay.
But you can have someone fill out your campaign finance paperwork for you. You just have to name them, and we do ask that if they have someone that's going to be their campaign finance manager, that they provide us with a email or something in writing stating that this person is going to be filling out that for them.
Great question. I hear you. Gotta ask
Easy
it.
stuff, Ed.
Gotta ask it. So I appreciate that. Is there any additional?
Nothing additional. Myself and my staff, we're just getting ready, for a busy election season, and we're kind of excited about it. So it's game time for us.
So if you would, just for some of the board members, everybody will be assigned a precinct or several precincts to visit, deliver lunch, those sorts of things on election day. So you will receive those assignments from Stacy as well. And then at the end of the night, we'll go over the procedures then after the polls close.
And we'll go over it again before then, but I just ask that on election day, on March the 12th, that you come by either the day before or the morning of and pick up your board member boxes. It has extra forms, voter registration forms, copies of where the precinct's addresses are, just anything that the poll worker could possibly run out of during the day. So extension cords, anything like that I will pack you a box and you'll just take it with you when you visit the precincts in case you need to replenish what they already have.
And in case if they call and say we need something, then you put it in there too.
Yes, ma'am.
We don't have to worry about early voting because that's no problem.
No, ma'am.
We'll finalize all this on our March meeting.
We'll probably finalize the schedule of that by email,
Okay.
but we'll go over it again during the March meeting.
Okay.
What fun.
Yes. So, all right, well, thank you. Thank you to the staff. I know that LNA testing and the poll worker training was quite the task. I know I popped by the office several times last week, and I did attend one night of the training, and I know you guys were busy, to say the least. So thank you all, and extend our thanks and appreciation to the rest of the staff that's been there and doing all the hard work, so we appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is for public comments, and I will open this up to anyone in the audience that has anything they'd like to say, share. I will go over the public comment requirements if we do have anyone that wants to speak, or I will save my breath and not. Going once? Okay, going twice? All right, no takers on public comment tonight. Moving on to the next item. It would be for board comments, and I would like to start by saying welcome, Ed.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here and filling the vacancy, and I hope that you don't leave us anytime soon, because I'm still trying to get used to all of this myself, and every time I turn around I've had to replace a board member here, so I appreciate you being here.
I told Larry Brown I volunteered, he left.
So, but yeah, we're glad to have you part of the board.
Thank you. I
So,
will certainly try to contribute.
awesome. Anyone else have any other comments as a board member that you'd like to share?
I got a couple things perhaps. Our group had planned to do a presentation this evening. That has been postponed. We're hopefully going to do it in March. We will see how it goes. We're still working on the timing. We may have to split it into two people so we can get everything in. I don't know it in detail, but we discussed that briefly. And
Your group
So-
meeting,
the Republican Party,
okay,
but our election integrity group.
okay.
But
And they are welcome to speak at a meeting. They will just have to adhere to the public comment guidelines that we have set forth. So if you want to share that with them so that they are familiar with how it will go. But we follow those guidelines, and they've been set forth. And so anyone who wants to speak would, if you want to make them aware, that would help them to know.
and also I understand the case against the Secretary of State before Judge Tottenberg is winding down in Atlanta. I think they will do closing this week perhaps, and she will probably rule, within a few days, maybe a week or two, nobody knows, on the issue of the machinery that was presented in the trial. So just so you guys will know, I don't know if you've been keeping up with that, but there could be some changes coming down the pike, or maybe nothing, who knows, nobody knows. So that's where we stand on that. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Good deal.
We'll see how it goes.
Good deal. Yeah, with legislation in session, we never know what sort of changes they're going to throw at us too.
Yeah,
So we have to be ready to pivot at any point. So
It could be coming
yeah.
from different directions this year, so.
Exactly.
And of all years, what a great time.
And I will say, our staff follows the state legislation very closely, and we have been, paying attention to the court case. But our attorneys are as well, and anything that we might not catch, they will notify us of.
Rick, did you have anything?
Nope, I'm thankful for all the work you guys did, Stacy, up to this point. It's been really eye-opening.
Becky, or anything else you'd like to add? All right. So there's no other board comments. The last item on the agenda is that we entertain a motion to adjourn.
Everyone's favorite motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.